Okay, so I thought what I would do was just, kind of remind us of the easy thing to do is to grow things that will grow in our region. And for anybody who's new to seeds saving, I would say start out finding something that's an easy seed save that you already know how to grow. Because guess what happens when you save seed? It's in the ground longer, and it takes a while. And the two kinds of seeds that I think of as easy and that people agree with it throughout is things that do well in hot weather and are wet seeded, like squash and tomatoes and peppers. And there are a lot of different ones. In the pepper department, hot peppers are so much easier than sweet peppers. So, and in the tomato department, little tomatoes are so much easier than big tomatoes. So, go with that. The other thing that is easy, so easy but harder, are things that like hot water, but then they have a dry seed and there are more problems. But there are a whole lot of things, and I put that onion there because in our region there are a lot of perennial onion shallot substances, some of which are, bulbing and some of which, are just green. And they are traditionally just all over the place, but they're not really that much in commerce. Like I had a friend, well, I still have a friend, he's down in Texas, who, sells these as winter onions like to the Whole Foods around there. So there's, like hundreds and hundreds of pounds. So, and I'm a big person in this seed thing, which hopefully I'll get several times to tell you, so when you go home and think, what seeds am I going to think about? In addition to things that you already know how to grow, or want to know how to grow, just because you want to, is things you can double dip on. And double dipping is, like with these onions, you're growing a bunch of them to sell, just as food. And that gives you a large population to choose from and select and build it up. And it's pretty much fun. There's some more different ones. And they're not exactly the onion you see in the store, but it's a story to tell, let me tell you. And a good seed with a good story is an easy sell. So, keep that in mind. So I forgot what I was saying. And I threw these watermelons and corn in here because in the South, corn is a good thing to try. And there's so many corns that, really sustain Southerners. And I was going to say something about Southern peas, but we've already gotten that. That if you're not growing Southern peas, you should be. And there's a lot of choices. And you can hook up with groups like Slow Foods that are trying to, promote regional foods, because it does help you to sell seeds in the market or sell produce in the market when someone is talking about them very well all over the blogosphere. And, so connecting with those people, but, taking them to big church events and stuff so that people who are in the neighborhoods also know about it. Yeah. And here's one. You see that trellis? 2 seeds. There are 2 seeds there. They're called wedding beans. They would give them away in Virginia as a wedding gift, and the person who and we only had 6 seeds, and I thought, what am I going to do with 6 seeds? And I planted 3 of them because I thought they weren't going to last, come there. And we got a bushel of beans from those 2 seeds. So this trialing that we were talking about that are going to help you identify why was this so popular. It is really important. Okay, you couldn't get away without hearing a little bit about collards. These two cultural geographers collected over 90 accessions of heirloom collards. That picture was from a trial in Charleston, and just to give you an idea of the range. And Seed Savers Exchange and Southern Exposure have been pulling these out and trialing them and slowly adding more. And you know what? Probably each of you in your neighborhood has somebody who's growing one of these not Georgia Southern collards. And you can take that story and bring it forward. And if you want to grow some for us, that'd be okay too. And here is another thing that came out in that trial. We came there, this was about a month before all the collards were expected to flower, and that one had flowered. And you know, people in Florida have problems with actually getting collard seeds because they need more chill time. So there's things that can be found out in these trials about the characteristics in regards to seed production that you might not otherwise think of. And, oh yeah, and then resources in your communities. I got, preached to by the Reverend Hoover Brown, and I'm all excited. And he has a church, and their church is taking on the problem, of food, not having enough high quality food in the areas. And churches have a lot of resources. And sometimes we don't think of as gardeners of the church as an ally or a resource, but there are a lot of people in churches who really care about food, and seed is food. And when you connect those dots and make them aware of things that are going on, you can become real partners in seed. And I told you about the double dipping. Feeding your communities and saving seeds. Whoa, it's good. And then another thing is native plants. This is creasy greens, and that one is Belle Isle cress, which is fancy creasy greens. And when you grow these things, it's again something that doesn't have a lot of disease pressures, doesn't need conditions that are different that are in your area. And I'm going to end with one. This is Roselle. It's Hibiscus sabdarifa. It is important. Yes, are you? A time? Okay. And it's an important crop and well loved throughout the African diaspora. And it's reminding you of what? My African diasporic seed collection, that you are going to look and see if there are friends and allies who are not here, who have things that they want us to rise up. And the thing that's really nice about some of these, like Roselle, is where I grew up in Florida, and it was a real crop there, and they called it Florida cranberry. And you have tea from Jamaica and jams and cranberry substitutes, and they fell out of favor because the railroad came through and brought cranberries from bogs there. But you know what else? It has natural pectin too. You don't even have to spend money on pectin to make jam. So I guess this isn't about seed saving so much as, again, evaluating what you're going to save seeds from with the knowledge that you have. That's my.
And the greens are edible.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And let me tell you something. You can make tea out of the leaves.
Actually, I have tea in my car right now. I have been making tea out of the leaves instead of the cakes.
Right.
Because people don't think about that. And apart from Indians, they really eat a lot of it. They make a chutney out of it. But leaves generally, I use and the calyx
Uh-huh.
is a lighter color.
Yes, and
I've
it's still
tested-
red.
And I've tested that out on friends, and they're really good.
Yeah. You know, if you want to talk to me, I've talked to people who make curry out of it, and there's just like a lot of choices. But this is mostly like there's many, many things to consider when you're figuring out
And it
what is the
produces
seed
a
for
lot
you.
of seeds, and so we haven't harvested the hibiscus on our farm yet.
Mhm.
So we'll be harvesting here in the next few weeks for gin as well as I'm making this, so I use the classes for teas. But it just produces so many seeds that you're just like literally drowning in Roselle seeds. So if folks are interested in it, like just reach out to me because I'm about to have a whole lot of seeds available for that.
And if you've never seen it, I have a few little of two different cultivars for our seed showcase. You can look at them. And another friend who I gave seeds to just brought me some back, and I should have them when we have the showcase this year.
You talked about double dipping, this one you triple dip.
Triplet.
You have the seeds, you have the calyx.
And also, it's still maybe quadruple, because if you're in a place where it's not perennial, like here, right, so I had to pull all mine out before frost, and I couldn't use all the greens, right, so I had my kids getting all the calyxes off, and then we took all of the whole plants that were left to the chickens. And they loved it.
Yes. And you know, you can actually cut them back throughout the season for tea and for the chickens, and it'll just bush more, and you'll actually end up with more calyxes. So, yes. And how's our comment?
We're on